Good afternoon, my name is James Bowker and I'm the head bartender here at the Edgbaston Boutique Hotel and Cocktail Lounge in Birmingham, England. Now, this challenge excited me hugely when I heard about it. It's bang on the trend that we've been seeing here in Birmingham, with guests wanting kind of more and more exciting, interesting and complex flavours in their cocktails, but with a little bit of that boozy kick. And the reason being is they want to, have a drink after work and continue drinking with their friends. And that's a pretty hard brief, but one worth pursuing. And then I noticed it was seasonal, it was supposed to be autumnal, I knew instantly what I wanted. And what I wanted was something rich and complex, but with savoury flavours that would remind guests of incredible meals that they'd shared with friends on cold autumn evenings. And for me then, a truly excellent digestif is one that you'll remind you of great moments and be reminiscent of something that you've done before. And that for me is what's really fascinating as a bartender, is thinking about how ingredients and psychology are related and how that link between flavour and emotion exists. So the base ingredient of this cocktail is the Johnnie Walker Gold Label Reserve. And I chose this because I wanted that kind of honey malt flavour along with the nutmeg spice that you really get on the finish, because that's going to balance perfectly with the other autumnal flavours in the cocktail. I'm just going to go with 30 millilitres of this because, as we remember, it's a lighter style of digestif. And that would be plenty. The second ingredient we're going to use is the Barolo Cinato, and this has an amazing kind of amalgamation of autumnal flavours, but particularly in here we get the ginger and the rhubarb, which pairs wonderfully with the apple and chestnut and the caramelised onion later on. So 30 millilitres of that will be just enough. And a deep rich colour will add an element of kind of romance to the drink. The third ingredient is La Belou. Now this is a French apple and chestnut liqueur, and for me this is the most kind of memory triggering ingredient in there, because I loved having apples in autumn apple pie that my nan would make me, and I loved the chestnut sauce she used to do with her Sunday roasts. So I'm doing 15 millilitres of this, and it's going to add sweetness but also that element of complexity. So the final part of this drink is perhaps the most unusual. This is a caramelised onion tincture, and the way we make this is basically we pan fry some caramelised onions and then we distill them through our rotary evaporator, and basically what we get there is an awesome kind of spicy umami flavour from those caramelised onions, and that level of kind of complexity that adds to the drink and balances everything perfectly. Just need 12 drops of this. It's quite an intense flavour. So rather than stirring or shaking this cocktail, I'm going to throw it, and the reason for that is I want to get that aeration in there, so the tiny air bubbles you get from throwing that give it this awesome mouthfeel, make it a bit lighter for the guest, but also because when you do this technique you really bring out the aromatics in the actual ingredients. So because we've got the great Barolo Cinato and the awesome whiskey, those notes are going to kind of be elevated by this technique. There are two elements of interactivity with this cocktail. The first is to introduce the guest to Tommy the Toad, and this is because for me when I'm thinking about kind of walks in the autumn, I'm thinking of that noise of toads in the pond croaking away, so the guest gets to have the opportunity to play with him and get to know him a little bit. And the final part is that the guest gets this little vial of perfume, and they get to garnish this in their own time, and it's basically a compound of a variety of our favourite forest flavours. So you get moss, you get apple, you get chestnut, everything we associate with autumn, and they get to choose exactly when they garnish their drink with it. So the name for this cocktail was inspired by this French absurdist philosopher, a guy called Albert Camus, and he had this awesome quote where he says that autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower, and I think that captures the beauty and the excitement and the allure of autumn perfectly. So for that reason this cocktail is called the Second Spring. And so with the Johnnie Walker Gold Label, with apple, with chestnut and with caramelised onion, I'd like to welcome you to autumn and to the second spring.